Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Can I have an approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Leo Jansen's yes.
Rosemary Meisner, yes.
Bill Johnson, yes.
Okay, citizen comments. I don't see anybody here tonight, so we can pass right over that. We'll go right to your update, Brian.
Sure. So I'll start with COVID. The numbers have been decreasing. Let's hope it continues that way. We're no longer in the red, we're in the yellow. So we're moving in the right direction. The Board of Health and Council on Aging have been working together to get people over to Devon's. We haven't had a lot of vaccines for our community, but the ones we've had have worked out pretty well. So if you have problems, and you're in one of the eligible groups, if you contact Council on Aging, they might be able to assist you. Also, Neshoba Board of Health, the 16 communities that they represent sent a letter to the state and Congresswoman Trahan about getting a vaccination clinic, a regional one at Devon's. So all 16 communities were on that. Was just sent out today. Not sure we'll get anywhere, but at least we're trying to do something for the North Worcester County people. And that's about it for the COVID stuff. We continue to monitor the town's finances. We're still in a spending freeze, waiting for motor vehicle bills are now out. So, when those come back, it'll give us a good idea of kind of where we are with the local receipts, and we'll move forward from there. And that's about all for my stuff that isn't addressed elsewhere.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the special town meeting warrant articles. We kind of messed up as a board at the last meeting. We approved posting the warrant, but we never approved each individual article. So we have 12 articles on the warrant. Would the board members like to address them individually or approve them as a package?
Leo, I have a couple of very minor questions that I'm
Okay.
sure can be answered. I'm okay with approving them as a package.
Okay.
I'm fine with that as well, Leo.
And what are your questions, Bill, before we approve them?
First question is, Brian, on Article 5, transfer of funds from capital reserve. Do you know what the balance is in capital reserve?
It's around 417,000, give or take a little bit, but it's right around that number.
Okay. And the second question has to do with warrant Article 7, transfer of funds from free cash. I know we had we have $88,756 in there. And I guess the warrant's already posted. Are we going to amend that on town meeting floor, or do we have a plan for that yet?
You can amend it at town meeting floor, or else I'll address it at the annual town meeting. The 16,454 that I removed for motor vehicle excise, because they hadn't got back to me in time. But since we approved this, they did talk. I'm okay either way.
All right, so it doesn't make any difference what the number is, because those can be amended on town meeting floor.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we can amend it. If you want to make that motion at town meeting, I'm for that, to make it 105,210. That's fine.
Okay, all right, those are the only questions I have, and if Rosemary doesn't have any, then I would offer a motion that the Board of Selectmen vote to recommend all 12 articles for the special town meeting as printed.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Leo Jansen's yes.
Rosemary Meisner, yes.
Bill Johnson, yes.
Okay. Now we go to the Complete Streets Downtown Project. The final update is Bill. Yep, Bill's here. I'll let you start, Bill.
Right. Thank you. Again, Bill McGrath with Beta Group. We're the design consultant for the town on the Main Street Sidewalk Complete Streets project. We submitted a revised set of plans last week. excuse me, that included a few things that have changed. One is adding in conduit for future street lighting under the sidewalks. The second is adding in light pole bases for those future streetlights. And both of those items will be included in the bid documents as alternate bids. So we'll get prices from the contractor, see what the cost is, and assuming it can be funded through the municipal light plant, that work will be done as part of the contract. The other thing that we added in, I know there's been talk on past meetings about the wide driveway opening at the Father Lacey Center and cars pulling in and out of there. So we've talked in the past about some of the challenges with trying to put a raised island in front of the driveway. But what we've done on these plans is added a flush island, similar to the treatment that we're going to have for the crosswalks, to at least provide some delineation and some visual cue to try to separate out the two sections of the driveway, make it a little bit safer. The other thing that isn't shown on the plans, but we are going to add in, excuse me, is some share the road signs for bicycles. We don't have bicycle lanes on the project because of the roadway width, but we are going to add in some share the road signs. So other than that, everything else is as it has been on the plans that we've discussed previously. What we are looking for is to get the job out to bid, so we can get a contractor on board. You get the project under construction, hopefully in mid-April when the construction season starts. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but hopefully we can get the board's approval tonight to move out to bidding the project.
Rosemarie?
Yeah, you always come to me, right?
What?
So anyway, just Bill, to recap, Father Lacey Hall, we talked about that. That's going to be concrete, right? It's not pavement, the driveway skirt.
That's
or whatever
correct.
you
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll be, so it will look the same as the sidewalk adjacent to it. Yep.
So we have that flush stamped asphalt island, but when you and I spoke, we talked about the possibility of extending that flush stamped piece, the entire width. And
Yep.
you were going to look into that. Was that something that, you advise or not?
Yeah. So I think we can do that. Obviously, we haven't changed the plans yet, but yeah, we can extend that so that it really divides those two driveways, or the two sections of the driveway. And it's still an ADA surface, so.
Yeah, so the only other thing that you and I had talked about was in the past was any signage that we would have that would alert people that they can't park on that driveway piece.
Yeah, that's correct. And I don't have the text for that signage yet, but that is something that we'll add in as well. Again, just to reinforce that the driveway is really two separate openings.
Right. No, that's all I had.
Bill?
I don't have anything major. I just, I want to thank Bill. I know the addition of the conduit and the light bases and things like that came about at the 11th hour of stuff that I was pushing for. And I know we're going to put it out as a bid alternate, but I think that's a good move for us. Even if we can't do the work right now, the light company can't do it. The fact that we have the infrastructure in place for future improvements is a good thing. So thank you for working with the light department and accommodating that. And the only other comment was to piggyback onto what Rosemarie was saying. I think Father Lacey Hall, it sounds like there's a compromise there. And this certainly isn't Bill's problem, but I think going forward as a community, we're going to have to do some outreach with the folks up at the St. Dennis Church and let them know about what's going on and what the expectation is of what they can do and what they can't do. and I'm not so sure they're going to be happy about it, but that's kind of the way it goes on some of these things. But we need to do some outreach and let them know what's going on well in advance of it actually happening. I know there's a situation with CCD where, cars are lined up all the way up north on Route 12 around the corner there. And I don't think we can let them do that. So I know Larry's on the call, so that, I look at that as a police enforcement issue, and they need to go down in the parking lot and park there. So we're going to have to do some outreach with them to try to mitigate those circumstances before they become a problem.
Yeah, just one more thing, Bill. I just wanted to thank you about putting on the plan the approximate stream and on the plan, and whether or not we had to go to Concom, addressing everything that Marshall Dennis had requested the last time we looked at the plan. The limits of the wetland and everything. Thank you for putting that in there.
No, I think it makes it a little bit clearer for everybody.
So Leo, are you looking for a motion on this?
In a moment.
Okay.
I got a minor question. Bill, when I look at the picture in the plans that you sent, like where Pleasant Street comes out, it seems to be really off from Lawrence Street. Does that make any big deal on the bidding process, or is that just approximates?
Not sure I understand the question.
It looks like the streets aren't where they're supposed to be.
Oh, we'll take a look at that, but no, that won't make any difference in the bidding process.
Okay.
I'm wondering if something happened in the printing process, but we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
The streets are where they are physically, so.
Okay. That's all I had. Randy, I'm sure you've been involved in this process, but do you have anything to ask or add tonight?
No, I have nothing to add. I guess I'm eager to see the project go forward
Okay.
and hopefully start, mid-April. We have a lot of work coming up this year in town, so it'd just be nice to see the ball get rolling. So.
And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of this stuff happen. It'll make the people feel better.
Absolutely.
Okay, Bill, you asked, I think maybe we should get a motion to approve what we've seen for the plans so that it can go out to bid.
Okay, then I would offer up a motion that we vote to approve the complete streets improvement plan for Main Street dated February 2021 with the changes as written, as well as the changes that have been discussed at this meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Leo Jansen's yes.
Rosemary Meissner, yes.
Bill Johnson, yes.
Okay, now we're moving on to discussing the town administrator's review.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
How'd you make out, Brian? Were you able to get that
I
done?
wrote it all up. I came in at 7 o'clock this morning figuring I'll just type it into Word. 11 hours later, I got page 1 done. So it's been a rough day. Nothing like having a Monday holiday and having twice the load on Tuesday.
Okay,
So, but I'll have it done by the end of the week and I'll have it to you by then.
okay. And my fellow board members, what type of a timeline do we want to put on it for us to have it completed?
Well, we have to see Brian's first.
Yep.
So why don't we just back into it? Our next meeting isn't until when? March?
March 1st.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we were to get it by the end of this week, I mean, I would think we could get our evaluations done. But then someone else has to compile them into one.
Yep.
And it should be a board member. And then that once we have that compiled one, we include it in our next board meeting. So if our next board meeting is the 1st, do we want to shoot for the 15th to actually do the review?
Yeah, why don't we put it on for the first to do a preliminary discussion and see where we're at? And then we'll set the final date at that point.
That's the safest, I would think.
Yep. Because if it's taking the guy who's involved this long, what's it gonna do for us? So Mary, if you would put that up for our next agenda, preliminary talk on the TA review.
Will do.
All right, that was easy. Now we go to the more involved one, the FY 22 budget review.
Sure. So I sent you all the preliminary one today, along with the revenue basic projection and the water and sewer revenues and expenses. I did just get handed around 5 minutes of 5, the retirement number, which was the only thing left that I had open. And that came in a couple $1,000s less than expected. So the budget's pretty close to where it will be with all the actual numbers that I have. Obviously the format changed a little bit. I went away from the tab type system. The main budget itself is the exact same as it's been, and we'll continue to go to town meeting in that format. But the backup supporting document is one Excel sheet that's 10 printed pages with all the supporting numbers and whatnot. If you have any questions or comments or want to see something different, I'm open to suggestions.
Rosemarie, I'll start with you.
Well, I like the format. I really do appreciate the more detailed information after the front page, which is the summary page. So that's great. I think that that's fantastic. In the past, the last few years that I've been involved with the budget, we actually have a working session to discuss this. I don't know if that's something that we want to do rather than going through it line by line tonight with questions or anything like that. That would just be my suggestion. It could be a working session in Zoom or in person if it's safe. I don't know how Brian feels or anybody else does, but anyway, yeah, that's what I would, that's what we've done in the past. Because the numbers are changing.
Right, as I mentioned, state aid could change for sure. I'll wait till the motor vehicle excise comes in before I really feel comfortable with all the revenue numbers. But I do want to thank all my department heads for getting their information to me. I didn't give them a lot of notice for a turnaround, but they did a very good job getting me all the information. So I want to thank them.
Bill?
So I agree with Rosemarie. I like the format. Thank you, Brian, for going through the tour that you had to go through to put that in Excel, but I think it'll serve us well. I've looked at the draft budget, haven't looked at the revenue and stuff, and I would like to certainly take a much deeper dive on it. I'm not interested in doing it tonight. I'm on the same page with Rosemarie as far as a working session goes. I think it would be important. I have a bunch of questions, some which I'm sure are going to be pretty easily answered, some others that won't be as easily answered. I think we could schedule an in-person upstairs in the town hall. And if that doesn't work, we could book it for Home Depot and have the meeting there because we're allowed to put large numbers of people in Home Depot. So I'd much rather put some tables upstairs and, sit 20 feet apart and be able to talk through this whole thing as opposed to doing it on Zoom or certainly not tonight.
Week from Thursday? Week
Works
from
for-
Thursday at 11 a.m.?
Week from Thursday is the 25th.
Oh, let's see. Yes,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. During the day,
11 a.m.
that's good.
Yep, looks good.
All right.
And I'll reserve any other questions or comments I have until next week.
Okay.
Mary, excuse me, Mary, do you know if Council on Aging's on Thursday? Are they here?
They are, yep.
We can meet outside with our masks on in the gazebo. No, I'm only teasing.
So is the upstairs in use?
It would be, it could be on Thursday, yep.
What time do they normally meet, Mary?
Well, we have a dispatcher that works 9 to 3 and Jan works 9 to 3 as well. And she has an office, but the dispatcher is out in the open.
How about the public safety building?
It's up to Larry if he wants people in there.
He's thinking.
No, I had an answer. I had somebody call me on my phone. I was waiting because I didn't want you to hear all, it was a salesperson. I'm fine
Yeah,
with
those
it.
salespeople.
Yeah. You might want to check with Bob, but I think we'll find, it's gonna be a small group, so.
Thank you.
Bob left us.
He did, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we move on to the Board of Selectmen task list and an update on Route 101.
Well, I'm not sure the update on 101, it has my name next to it, but as I mentioned before, and it is one of the warrant articles, the increase of $72,000. We have a letter from Weston and Sampson dated January 5th, 2021. And I just look on page 3, it says we have broken down our request for additional fees as follows. And they have task A, multi-use path alterations and retaining walls, $36,160. Task B, road plan alterations, easements and takings, $19,680. Task C, project closed drainage design, $16,160. Those 3 items total the $72,000 that they're looking for an additional funding on.
So Brian, if you remember from the last MPO meeting, it was recommended that we might provide them with an update as to where we are at with the 101 TIP project, because they're in the middle of setting the schedule. So there were a lot of outstanding items that Weston and Sampson had been asked to update, and they had not yet done that. And I forwarded to you 2 emails from DOT where they were saying, this is the information that they needed.
I'll send those over to DPW and have them contact Weston and Sampson and have those answered. I forgot to forward those over. My apologies.
Okay.
So I have a question, Leo.
Okay.
So Brian, one of the things that I was most interested in knowing, and I've got the Weston and Sampson letter here, and I get that and understand what they're saying and the associated costs that go with that. So my concern is, where exactly are we? Are we 25% complete? Are we 50% complete? Are we 75% complete? Because as I understand from listening to Rosemary talk about these things as she goes to these meetings, there are communities that are coming into these projects with engineering 100% done before, and they're not even on the tip yet. And my God, I think I weighed 175 pounds and had hair when we started this project. So when are we going to get to 100%? Where are we now? We just need to get it done, get the bill paid, get the work done, and have everything that the folks at DOT need. And we don't seem to be there. And I certainly stand to be corrected, but we don't seem to be there, and we need to get there. And I would really like to know when we're going to get there.
Sure. So we've got money allocated this year to do a section of that. And then we have money right as the beginning of next fiscal year, July, to do the next portion of that. And that'll be the completed part that we have. The only thing missing then would be the $72,000.
So maybe Randy could answer this question. I'm looking at the email from DOT. The question they're asking is that they were told on February 25th of 2020 that we would be at 75% design by 12/27 of 2020. That's the last time they got anything from Weston and Sampson. So the big question is, are we at 75% design plan?
So my best understanding is I believe we're at 25% design plan at this time. That's really all I'm not at the office. I don't have any of that in front of me, but that's the best I can tell you at this point.
Yeah, that's what it says on the books, but they're just following up because they were, like I said, they were told that they could expect the 75% design plan from Weston and Sampson on December 27th of 2020. So that's what they're working off of. So you know what, if you've seen these schedules, they had a meeting last week, and they are trying to peg what projects are ready to go forward or not based on the information they have, and they score the projects.
Mhm.
And, we're over budget now, not because of the 72,000, but because of just the inflationary factors that they use when they're projecting forward to 2025, which is a 16% increase total over the course of the next 2 years, right?
Mhm.
So because we're over by like $1 million on the project based on their projections, my concern is, as Bill said, there is a project that's at 100% that could be slipped in and we'd be pushed out to 2026. And this is what's been happening all along with this project. So that's why I had asked for an update on this one, because, I'm familiar. I'm going to sit in this meeting tomorrow and we're going to be talking about it. So I don't respond, by the way. I just listen. But yeah, it just, they're talking about Ashburnham and they know I'm from Ashburnham. And I'm like, okay, well, don't have the answers.
All right. Anything else on that before we move on to the task list?
So Brian, when do you think we could get any response back from DPW on that?
I'll have it by the end of the week. I know I talked to Steve about it. I thought I had the numbers in front of me. We had spent some more during this year. And then I know he had a chunk going out now. And then when the next round of state money comes, July 1st, he was going to complete the rest of the project at that point in time.
So do we have any indication that the problem is with us here in Ashburnham, or the problem is with Weston and Sampson, or what seems to be the delay?
I would say it's probably how we were funding it, reallocated funds, and now we needed to use some of this year's money and we need some of next year's money in order to meet the goal of the 360,000, I think was the original number. And once we have that money as of July 1st, when that next round of state money comes in, we'll be able to fulfill our obligation as we originally saw. And then with the $72,000, we'll fulfill the additional funding. So that's where we are. So, I can't give you an idea of when, but I think once we give the go ahead, it'll go fairly quickly. I think it's on us.
Yeah, because you weren't here, and it's clearly not your fault, and I don't think Randy was here, and I wasn't here. So Leo's been here the longest, so I'm going to blame him. It's just, there's some things that have happened between the town of Ashburnham and DOT, and if I were to put it mildly, we are not a favorite son of theirs right now because of some decisions that were made previously. So as this thing continues to drag itself out, I just think it reinforces that negative position we have in their eyes at DOT. So anything that we can do to make that go away and get our stuff done, we need to get that done, because I don't, if there's a close call to be made here, I do not believe it's going to go in Ashburnham's favor.
I agree with you on that. And like I said, I think we do have a plan to attack and get this done. Hopefully, like I said, it's completed and everything by next fall, but I'm not gonna, let me talk to Steve regarding that. But I believe that was kind of where we had the timeline with this money, the 72,000 plus the next year's state money would be able to cover all our expenses to get that engineering completed to 100%.
And the only other thing I would throw out there is that I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that. We need to make sure that we communicate clearly to DOT where we are, what's going on. And we need to make sure we reach out to them. We just can't assume that they're going to know what's going on. We need to reach out on it. So,
Sure, I'll touch base with him.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so just to, it's not just about the money and the design plan. It's all this other stuff that Weston and Sampson needed to submit. So some of it's submittal stuff, and it might be very quick to submit this stuff.
Sure, I'll follow up with Steve on anything that should be done that's timeline like that. And Randy, if you can check on that also, we'll touch base tomorrow and see where we are and then get a plan going forward. I know I talked to Steve about the plan going forward, but let's all get in the same loop.
Yeah, so that just for those emails have everything you need, Brian.
Perfect, thank you. Do you know what the date was, Rosemary?
I received, the last email I got was February 1st.
Okay, perfect, thank you. That's close enough. I get about 60 emails a day, so.
Come on, that's nothing. I used to get 200 a day.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Now
I
I
gotta
get-
read most of mine.
Now I get
Not
2.
junk mail. Other than the ones from the State Board of Health, I guess I get double of those, so I only read one of them.
Okay, on the task list, do you want to start, Bill, where you've been tracking it?
Yeah, I forgot to send the revised version out. I did it late today, and I realized I had the wrong date on the header. So I've since corrected it, but I didn't bore you with the details of sending it back out. So the first one up there was we put the community compact grant and the DLTA grants that we were applying for on there. So I don't know if anything has transpired with those or not.
Well, good news is we got both of them. So yeah, we got the DLTA grant for the land use chapter. And we also got the 2 community compact grants that will help you, Bill, on your bylaw review committee.
Perfect. And what was the value on those grants?
DLTA, they don't really tell you what that's worth. But community compact, wasn't it like, Brian, like 45, 42, something like that?
It was
$1,000.
12,500, right? 12,500, I think, on one, and 33,000 on the other. I'm pretty sure.
Great. Okay, I'll update those then. Did we do the Unified Planning Working Program grant application?
We did, and I should find out about that tomorrow, hopefully,
So that was
where we're at with that.
great. We just did the tip thing, TA evaluation we've done. Mary, on the complete list of all members on various boards, I know you and I have spoken about that back and forth today. I know we're close on that. What's your, what say you?
I'm just waiting for a few more responses from people. I've emailed them a few times, but haven't heard back. So there was like 4 or 5 spots that I needed information for, but it's about now.
I would, and it's not my call, but it's the chairman's call, but based on what I saw today, I think you could release that document to us and
Okay.
then work on, getting that other information that's left behind there. I think it's a good document. There's a lot of information there. It's an internal document, so, various boards and people like that can have it, but, I think you're like 99% there.
Okay, I can send that.
Brian, capital asset inventory. Any update on that?
Sure, no, now that the budget's, well, in a good format, it'll give me some time to move to the capital plan, and there's a capital meeting tomorrow regarding the warrant articles.
Okay, budget process, we know about that. Shared winter streets, still waiting on our second grant application. I check almost every day. I didn't check today, but we'll see. I suspect nothing's happened on the website cleanup from boards and commissions. I think I'm gonna have to revisit that with those folks. Bylaw review, we had our first meeting last Thursday. We are going to be meeting every Thursday for the foreseeable future. So there's some things that I've got to talk to Brian about, processes and things like that, but it's certainly a good group of people that has a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. And I'm feeling pretty good about what we're doing. We'll have some stuff probably ready for the annual town meeting. I don't know it'll be a significant amount of changes as it relates to bylaws, but formatting and things like that. We'll certainly have information as we go along about some things that we think need to happen. So that's all good. So we're on track there. And I'm going to jump over a bunch of the others. MVP planning. I know you told us, Brian, that Marshall Dennis is now the project lead on that. If you guys have had a meeting with the state, I believe, correct?
We had a kickoff meeting, and Marshall's done a wonderful job. He sent out some information. I know there's some follow-up stuff coming up relatively quickly at the end of February and early March. So there'll be a lot of fast and furious, I think, with that group.
Okay, complete streets. We did that tonight, so I can update that one. Rosemary, rail trail feasibility. Did we get that? Did you get that submitted?
Yep, that's out, and we won't hear back until June on that one.
Okay. I skipped over because I'd actually made a typo here, which I know you're probably going to find hard to believe. But Brian, as it relates to the budget, are you going to put together some sort of a timeline as it relates to meetings, whether it be with us, advisory board, kind of lay the whole thing out as we get ready to go to town meetings so that we know what the schedule is and what to anticipate?
Sure, I can do that. I think our working meeting, at that, we can discuss, some of that and then have a timeline ready right after that. That'll be fine.
Okay, great.
So just a quick thing on that one. On those meetings with advisory, in the years past, someone from the board attends those meetings just to listen. Is that we're going to do that this year?
With advisory?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
attend. You don't participate. You just listen.
That's difficult for me to do, but yeah, I'm the liaison with that group, and
Okay.
I'm talking to Ron. We talked today, and I attended the meeting that they had last week to talk about the warrant articles. And my intention is to attend with them on the budget process as well. And I'm sure Brian will be there, but yeah, we will have representation there. And I think that's it for me. Does anybody have anything that they want to add on to the task list that's popped up recently?
Well, I don't have anything that's maybe on a Board of Selectmen task list, but other things I've been involved with is the group Open Space and Recreation has been working to do that cleanup at the former Bresnahan pool area. So that's becoming very active now. and other community members are involved. And they're submitting an NOI to Concom. So that's, that's moving forward. So that's that cleanup. And I also had a conversation with the Light Board, Mark Carlisle, and they're looking at applying for an a fast charge EV charging station. I think it's like a $55,000 grant. So they're looking at different locations in town where they might be able to put one or maybe more than one charging station with the money if they were to receive the grant.
I saw some emails come out on that, I think from maybe Mark and Ed Vitoni.
Mhm.
Is that something that we're going to be involved with, that discussion as to possible locations for that? I know at one point they were involved with some discussions with Oakmont. That is not going to come to pass. They're not interested in doing that up there. So are we is that something we're going to talk about?
I don't really know. I mean, he was just trying to find out who would be interested. I mean, he threw out places downtown, maybe the public safety building, up by town hall where Brian parks his car. He'd have to move. Because that's the closest to something. I don't know. Yeah, no, he was just trying to figure out, do we do a bank or do we split it up into smaller units in the application process? I think it's due the middle of March.
Well, we presently have something up at the library, correct?
That's a slow charge.
So
This
this-
would be a fast charge.
Didn't realize there were differences.
Yeah, no, there are. So from a, use standpoint, you'd rather plug into a fast charge.
Makes sense.
Now, currently, you don't get charged for that, no pun intended. Is that still correct, Rosemary?
Well, the one up at the library, yes. Yeah, no, they don't charge for that.
So do we know if this would be one where you'd have to pay for the?
I don't have any idea. I mean, this was something that, this grant was something that the light plant is taking the charge, but I think they're also working with the energy committee.
Okay.
So. Yeah, that's all I know. Yeah. There are a couple of other grant opportunities coming up that we might want to think about. There's one for an efficiency and regionalization program we've talked about, potentially sharing jobs, positions with other communities. So that's opens up on March 15th and is open March 15th through April 15th. I do believe that that grant also will be available again in the fall. I saw it somewhere. I have to confirm it. And then there's another opportunity that was sent to me, which is sort of more of an economic development thing that I think we need to really look at a little bit more, but it's a one-stop letter of intent. They call it expression of interest, where a community comes up with, multiple projects, and they make it be known with the state, and offices that know that we're interested in participating with grant applications would be the Department of Housing and Community Development, Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, and Mass Development. So those are things that, we might want to think about it. You have to accept the application is due on April 2nd, but all it is an expression of interest. It's not a grant application. It just lets them know that this is what communities are thinking about. So the grants would be things like Mass Works, downtown initiative, rural development fund, community planning grants, housing choice community capital grants, site readiness, underutilized properties. They have some new grant opportunities that they're going to be rolling out. So it's something that we can be looking at, it's going to take a while to pull it together if this is something that the town wants to move forward with.
Anything else off the list, Bill?
Oh, I think that covers it.
All right. So now we'll be moving on to approval of minutes for February 1st, 2021.
And I would offer up a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, February 1st, as written.
I will second that.
All in favor, Leo Jansen's yes.
Rosemary Meisner, yes.
Bill Johnson, yes.
Okay, now we move on to other business. Anybody have anything on that?
I have two items.
Okay,
The first one is at the bylaw review committee meeting. After it was over, I spoke briefly with Dave Perry, who's on zoning board of appeals as well as marijuana review team. And he wanted me to bring it to the board's attention that he is trying to coordinate a tour of a marijuana facility, obviously not in Ashburnham because there's nothing up and running yet, to give the folks on the MRT team a better understanding of what one of these things looks like. And he wanted to extend an invitation to the Board of Selectmen to see if there was any interest in us participating in that tour, if he's able to put it together. And I had said to him that I would pass that information along. I told him that I was interested in seeing that. I spent a fair amount of time over the years touring production facilities. So I'd like to see how that's put together if nobody else is interested. But I just want to bring that to the board's attention. He's going to follow up with us as that moves along.
I'd be interested, Bill.
yeah, me too.
The second thing is, I believe I've communicated with the folks on the board and with Brian about a program that I went through a month or so ago, a demonstration on something called C-Click Fix. And I think I've sent the PowerPoint out to everybody. I'm interested in having those folks come to a Board of Selectmen's meeting and run through that PowerPoint as something that we potentially could take a look at of incorporating that in the town of Ashburnham. So I'm not well versed on it. Like I said, I sat through about a 45-minute session with a couple of folks from that company. Interestingly enough, the company Civic Plus, who manages our I think I don't know if they host or manage our website, also own this company. And no, there's no discounts available because we're using two of them potentially. But I think this is a way forward for Ashburnham as it relates to communicating with the public on work, on potholes, on limbs that are down, situations. There's a lot of reporting that comes with it. There's workflow information that comes with it. I think it leads to some operational efficiencies. So rather than me try to explain it to everybody, I'd like to have us get that on the agenda so we could go through the process so everybody could see it firsthand.
Rosemary?
I'd be interested in it. This was something that my first year when I was on the board was brought up as something that we might want to look at. So it's been talked about in the past. So yeah, no, I'd be interested.
Bill, what was the name of it again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Called C-Click Fix. And you can go onto their website and basically what it is, it's an app and citizens can download it and depending on how you format it. So you're driving down the road and there's a limb across the road wherever. You can jump on your phone, put the information into the system. It goes into DPW and it starts this automated process of someone gets notified of it, it gets assigned out to somebody for the work to be done, but, which is good, but more importantly, it also communicates directly back with the resident that sent in the information, that keeps them up to date as to what's transpiring with that work request, if you will. So that it follows it all the way through the completion of when it's done, they get notified along the way. So it's automatic notification on these things. You know, it could be anything. And we can establish, you know, who gets copies of the information, for example. There's reporting that comes out on a monthly basis. There's a bunch of different reports that you can run about, for one, for example, from how long when a request was first put in, you know, the average amount of time it took before that request was fulfilled and completed and closed out. So there's a lot of data that we would have access to. Again, that's some of the operational efficiency stuff that's in there. So there's obviously big cities use it. City of Fitchburg has it. There's different packages based on the population that you have. There's also different costs associated with it. So we'd be on the smaller side of it for sure. But I think, and if it's not this one, maybe it's something else, but I think it's a path forward for us to enhance the communication that we have with the public when they wonder what's going on with a particular project. And if you have multiple people that report the same situation or the same problem, then it will ask them, well, this was reported already at a particular time. You just want to partner with that one that's already filed. And so say there's 6 people, they could all join the same one, but all 6 of them would get notifications as it goes along. Instead of 6 different ones going out, it'd be one notification going out to 6 people. So there's some efficiency with that as well.
So Mary, would you put on the agenda for March 1st?
And you'll reach out to see if they're available for March 1st?
Yeah, I'll take care of, I'll try to set it up. They actually reached out to me yesterday, so I will reach out to them. And the one that I sat through was actually about 45 minutes long, but there was a lot of questions and things that I asked. So I'll have them scale that down or go a little bit quicker. So we certainly won't have that amount of time taken up, but you know, they can do the PowerPoint and, you know, share the screen and do that whole thing. So I'll get you their contact information, Mary, as well, so you'll know who I'm dealing with there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leo.
Welcome. One thing I want to bring up is we received an email today about the Whitney Dam project, the Whitney Pond Dam. And Brian, I would like to ask you to take the authority of that, being that you're the chief financial officer. I'm sure you saw the email and you know some of the concerns that were brought up, so that if and when they have to make reports or whatever, it's going to go before it goes out.
Sure. I scanned that email that Marshall sent, so I appreciate him for doing that. Definitely, I'll pass it on, that they know, you know, they can discuss with who they need to discuss, but before they are authorized to do anything, they need my approval.
Exactly.
That's fine.
I just had a very quick thing, Leo. Last week I attended and participated in a visioning exercise that the library had. And one of the things that we did was actually look at the town of Ashburnham as a whole in the visioning process. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing how, you know, what they came up with in the end after they compile all the statements, because typically they just look at the library, but this time they looked at Ashburnham as a whole.
Now, who participated in this? The library personnel or?
There were people who were just patrons of the library.
Okay.
There were someone from one of the school librarians was there. Friends of the library were there. Let's see who else. Staff from the library, and just patrons that participated.
So did that sort of work? I remember when economic development first started in the first downtown days, there was that table that everybody was allowed to write on with views or ideas about economic development. Was it something along those lines?
No, actually, it was a 2-hour Zoom meeting. And we broke into breakout groups and we had to complete different tasks. And that information's all being compiled into vision statements based on different categories that we looked at.
So will the board get a copy of that where it might impact?
I'm sure we'll be able to see the libraries, the end product that the consultant pulls together. They've been doing this for several months. So
But
this
if-
is the third thing I've participated in.
But it sounds like if it goes beyond what the library has to do, it may be some topics that would concern our board.
Well, I think it'd be nice for us to know. I mean, because it's looking at Ashburnham as a whole. And that was just a unique viewpoint. I've done this before with the library when they did it like 5 years ago.
Okay,
And it was just the library. But the question that was asked with the group was, if, flash forward, if Ashburnham was, in the best position and everything was wonderful, what would you like to believe Ashburnham would look like based on these categories? So things like safety and the environment and housing and community, health, all different topics like that. So it's interesting.
okay,
Yeah. Something to look forward to.
all right. Anything else? Okay, it looks like we go to you, Bill.
Okay, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting will be on Monday, March 1 on 2021 at 6:30 PM, and that will be a Zoom meeting. And we have open positions for the April 27th, 2021 town election and some caucus information. So Selectmen, there's one position open for 3 years. The moderator, one position for 1 year. The Board of Health has 2 open positions, 3 years each. Municipal Light has 1 open position for 3 years. Planning Board has 1 open position for 5 years. Library trustees have 2 open positions for 3 years each. And the town caucus will be on Monday, February 22nd at the J.R. Briggs Cafeteria. And I believe that is scheduled for 6:30. And if you're unsuccessful at town caucus, then you can take out nomination papers, which are available through the town clerk's office or on the town website. Nomination papers must be submitted back to the town clerk by Tuesday, March 9th, at the close of business. The last day to withdraw or object to nomination papers is Thursday, March 11th, close of business. And the special town meeting is on February 22nd, 2021 at 7 PM at the J.R. Briggs Cafeteria. And any questions anyone might have, they could reach out to Michelle Johnson at the town clerk's office at 978-827-4100, extension number 3. And I would just comment that for caucus, we need to have 25 registered voters there for that to happen. And that's obviously being held just before the special town meeting. So we would encourage your attendance there. Mr. Chairman.
It's my understanding that there will be an incumbent running for Board of Selectmen. Next up is last on the agenda.
Actually, I have one question about the special town meeting and caucus.
Okay.
Brian, do you know if we are good to go with the Ashburnham cable TV as far as taping that for broadcast at a later date down there?
Believe me, Mary, correct, right? Cable TV is going to be there.
Yeah, Matt already verified that they're available that night for both.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Leo Jansen's yes.
Rosemary Meisner, yes.
Bill Johnson, yes.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
you. Good
Thank
night.
you.